What's up? Welcome to another NHL 24 tips video where I answer your guys' most common questions. And this question we're going to be answering today is, does stance matter? Now in previous years, it was always yes. Always yes, it helped you with 5-hole animations, movement, helped you with everything. But this year it's a little bit different. It's not the answer that you would expect either. So we're going to be going over that and also some build tips. Let's go! Alright, let's get right into it. So, first of all, I'm just going to start by saying stance does matter, and it doesn't. So, I'm going to get into it. So, 95% of it, let's make it 96% of it, does not matter at all. It does not affect your save animations, your movement. The movement's all the same. Whatever your goalie's legs or extremities look like, no matter what it is, you'll get the same animations the same time. I know, calm down. Because all the previous years, I've told you stance matters, and so has black ice. But this year, after careful testing, it does not matter at all. And I'll prove it to you later. But let's get into the 5 or 4% of it that it does matter. It's not really extreme. It's not very aggressive change. But if your goalie has a tight stance, like 56, I'm telling you, skaters think you're not covering net. They will take stupid shots because it doesn't look like you're covering net. And that matters because I've played in a league game with this stance, and they had 2 1-Ts with a tape to tape. So you know they practiced their one-timers and they were expecting to get one-timers. I faced a single one-timer the entire game and it didn't even go in. And 90% of their shots were just regular stupid shots from the circles, thinking they can just snipe me because my stance looked like this. So I'm telling you, it doesn't affect your animations, but it affects skaters. If you have a wide stance like 49, they'll think you're covering a lot of net when you're not, so you can maybe bait the post more, and then they'll do a cross crease. So that kind of stuff matters, you know? So it's not the stance itself that matters, it's mostly what the stance does to skaters. But I'm telling you, you can use whatever stance you want and you'll play fine. If you get scored on, I promise you it's not because of the stance. However, let's say it happens less in this game, but let's say someone runs into you, okay? Let's say they just skate and it's one of those stupid goals where they just run into your goalie. If you have a stance like, basically, if you have a stance like stance 42, there are many other stances, but if you have a stance like stance 42 with a big 5-hole, and they don't shoot, your goalie will not get an animation, okay? He won't get an animation. So if they run into you, it all depends on what your stance looks like, how much net it's covering. Now, this year, if they shoot, you'll always get an animation this year. It's incredible. Previous years, it was like a 70-30 if you're getting an animation or not. It was kind of weird. But this game, you get an animation every time. If they run into you, it all depends on your stance. So, let's say you have stance 57, and they run into you. There is not a lot of 5-hole there. It's all vertical instead of horizontal. So if the 5-hole is vertical, like this, and they run into you, there's not a lot of space for them to run into. And it'll hit your stick. It won't go in. But the consequence is they'll be able to run around you to the side without shooting and then score like that. So it's all just personal stuff. Stance depends on what you want skaters to think and what you want to look like. It's all 95% of it, again, is cosmetic. Regular shots, cross creases, you'll still react the same, and you won't get any different animations like previous years. So I'll just tell you what stance I'm using just for fun. I'm using stance, either I'm using stance 16 or I'm using stance 58, because those two stances look like old games, you know, like NHL 14. And I kind of like the old games, okay? I still play NHL 14 and stuff. I'll just be honest. So I kind of like these stances because they look like the glove is low and they look like older games. And I just like how it looks. So I just put them on. I'm leaning towards stance 16, but I've played very successfully with all stance. I'm telling you that. I've played with stance 58, or a 56 and only let in one goal, and it was a shot I messed up on. That's what's great about this game. The only goals that go in are when you mess up, so it's amazing like that. So let's get out of here, and I'm going to take you guys into the builds portion of the video, because the builds are semi-important, semi-not, you know, we'll get into it, okay? So builds actually kind of depend on your controls, which I've learned from the wisest man on earth, Black Ice 2020. So let's say this is going to be my build for a while. I love it. The movement is great. The rebounds are superb, and it saves everything I need it to save. So let me go through the attributes that do and don't matter for either controls. So agility does not matter if you use the old controls. If you use the old controls from older games, and this agility is a dead stat. But it matters for tether controls, because tether controls, you're constantly moving. You're moving a lot more than with the old controls. With the old controls, you're only doing one movement at a time. With tether controls, you're moving back and forth constantly. So it's important to have higher agility with the tether controls. But with the old controls, it doesn't. I would rather have this low and have the durability and endurance up. Why? Because when you have high stamina with the old controls especially, and the tether controls as well, you save everything. But when you have lower stamina, your goalie makes exaggerated saves, very exaggerated saves. And he sits down a lot more, but he gets crazy saves. So, you know what? I'll tell you this. When I had low stamina stats, when I had them -5 for both of my builds, I didn't get as many exaggerated save animations when I had low stamina. So, you might be thinking, what the heck then? Why would you make it higher if stamina doesn't really affect you like that? To be honest, I don't need stamina. But I make it higher because for some reason, when you have higher stamina, when you have higher stamina stats, when it goes down, you get exaggerated animations again, unlike if they were -5. So I actually like the exaggerated animations. I like the crazy animations because I feel I have a better chance of saving a cross crease or a hard shot with the crazy animation than if it's just a regular animation. It's weird to say, but it's the truth. I like the exaggerated animations, so I make these higher because that's the only way to get them. It's very strange, but I'm telling you, that's what I've seen for many games. Now, another stat that doesn't matter for old controls is angles. With the old controls, I don't hold down LT anymore, which is really weird because I thought for the longest time that holding LT was the most important thing for the old controls, but it wasn't. It isn't. Angles is stupid. Make it -5 plus the recovery and plus the rebound control. So make the rebound control and recovery higher. Now look at my vision. 89 vision. I do that because I have gold x-ray. If you have gold x-ray or even silver x-ray, you don't need high vision. Like, you can minus that, okay? It doesn't matter. So if I didn't have x-ray though, I would make this at least 91, but it doesn't really matter to me right now since I have gold x-ray. So that's the oh, and by the way, yeah, with the tether controls, angles does sort of matter because you do hold down LT with the tether controls all the time. For some reason, LT matters with the tether controls, not the old ones. So it all depends on your controls. By the way, you can ask me questions in the comments and stuff. I know this stuff sounds kind of confusing, so feel free to ask me more questions on these. So let's get on to the attributes, the perks, the core, the build itself. All builds are the same, okay? All of them are the same. If you have high stamina stats, decent rebound control, and high recovery, you're gonna have the same results with basically every build. So don't worry about the attributes as much as the perks, because the perks are what the core of the build is. The gold one being the most important one. The gold perk is what your playstyle should represent. If you're a person that poke checks or a person that I don't know who puts on last stand in gold. Unless you're playing 4s, even then, you're playing to lose if you're facing breakaways all the time. Plus, this doesn't even help you that much. I put on X-Ray because I like how it lights up after every save. Almost every save it lights up. So, I like X-Ray a lot. I don't like screens, so I like it too. And extra padding and sponge. Both of these are the types of perks that don't help you all the time. They help you with one situation. So, that means these two actually team up instead of cancel out. These two, extra padding and sponge, they team up and make the ultimate rebound beast. Because extra padding kicks in first. Extra padding helps me with rebounds for some reason. And, it helps me with rebounds for some reason. So, if that's the case, that means sponge should team up with it, which it does, to help me with covering the puck and add that much more to the rebounds. So, just as an example of what I'm talking about, let's say I get a rebound and it's kind of bad, even with extra padding, then sponge is the backup. He's the guy that covers the puck when the rebound is bad, or he cradles it instead of it bouncing off his chest and down below between your pads for you to kick it in the net or something. He covers the puck more with extra padding boosted on top of it. So it's an amazing thing. Extra padding and sponge, I love how it teams up. X-Ray is just great for my playstyle. So butterfly builds, I say they suck. I said they suck. This time I'm saying they can be excellent, because until Black Ice 2020's live stream of him using this exact build, this is Black Ice's build, I did not make this. My stand-up build is heavily inspired by this one though. This build is what he used, and he made excellent saves all the time. And I'm telling you, it's because he only had one perk that helped you all the time, and then post-to-post and sponge to sort of team up for those one situation type things. His post-to-post was the core of his build, and notice the vision, notice the agility, notice the speed. Speed only matters for going to the bench. It does not matter for you moving around in the crease, I promise you, for both controls. I'm going to be testing it out myself. I haven't used it yet, but from what I've seen, butterfly builds apparently can be good. So, let's do it. Sounds good to me. I'll see you guys next time though. See you guys when I do an ASHL goalie video. I think that's what I'll do next. Maybe not. Who knows? I hope I answered your questions. If you have more, let me know. If your question is good and complex enough, I'll make a video on it. And I'll shout you out at the same time. So, see you guys next time. Goodbye.